Worries. I was lucky. Really, really lucky. When David dropped me off at home, Mother was still sleeping. Daddy had left a note for me saying he'd gone down to stop headquarters. I called Liz to let her know I was home, ate a sandwich, and went to bed. I was so tired. I didn't even have any dreams. It was wonderful. The next Monday at school, JT cornered me again. How'd you do it? Do what? I asked. Red was furious. When he came back from fishing, his trunk was open and the dynamite was gone. He thinks you did it. Why me? Because you didn't want him to take it in the first place. I put my hands on my hips. JT, how could I have done it? I don't have a key to his trunk. I was a better liar than I thought. JT shrugged. I can't figure out how you followed him to the middle of nowhere. That's because I didn't follow him. That was sort of true. I'd gone with him instead. Why? Asked JT. If you went to all the trouble to steal the rest, why didn't you take the last two sticks? I didn't mean to leave. JT grinned at me. Okay, so he wasn't stupid, and clearly I was. So it was you, he said. JT, you can't tell. Of course not. You'd look really awful with a black eye, but Red is pretty angry and looking for someone to blame. And he and my dad have been talking a lot about Birmingham. Why are they talking about Alabama? Colored folks are starting to move into the white neighborhoods there. And well, they've been a lot of there have been a lot of bombings. In one part of town, there have been so many explosions, they call it Dynamite Hill. That's awful. That's what I thought. But Red and Daddy were laughing about it. Like it was some big joke. Ought to do that here, said Daddy. That'll solve our school problems real fast. Mother said they were only kidding, but JT glanced around. No one was paying any attention to us. Remember last year when there was those bomb threats at Central? Yeah. Judy had told me about them on more than one occasion. Well, Red called in at least one of them. I know. I was homesick, but Red didn't know that, and I heard him make the call. I said nothing. I never told anyone. Do you think he'd bomb my house? I asked. JT considered that, and the longer he considered it, the more nervous I got. I don't think he'd bomb a white girl, he said finally, but Liz is colored. He doesn't know what she looks like. Not yet, said JT. But look at this. He pulled out our yearbook, which we'd gotten in the homeroom that morning. I hadn't even looked through it yet. He flipped to a page in the back. It was a picture of the cheerleaders at the football game. In one corner, sitting on the bleachers, Liz and I were clearly visible. Red hasn't seen this yet, he said. Has he? JT shook his head. I'll hide my yearbook, but a lot of people have copies. Thanks for the warning, I said. He shrugged. It was kind of fun to see Red so mad. He swaggered off like a cowboy, but this time I was pretty darn sure it was an act, like David's happy grin. And I hoped that JT wouldn't turn up at school the next day with another black eye. I warned Liz about the photo, but there wasn't much she could do. Someone was already keeping watch at her house every night. There was now less than a week before the election on May 25th, and I was a nervous wreck. I spent hours staring out our front window, watching for Red's old gray Chrysler Windsor. Every morning as I sat in the car with Daddy on the short ride to school, I tried to decide if I should tell him about the trunk. I wanted to get it off of my chest. I wanted him to reassure me that two sticks were nothing. No real harm could be done. But every time I opened my mouth to tell him, I stopped. What would it change? The police had done all they could do. I would be sent to Pine Bluff, and it seemed like not being able to keep a lookout for Red would be even worse. But I got quiet again, like a turtle. I pulled back into my shell, conserving my courage and my words until I really needed them. At least that's what I told myself. I hoped it wasn't just an excuse for being quiet and afraid.